There are two facets to storytelling. One is the traditional aspect that most of us know, which is using our language, our voice, our bodies, different emotions to be able to build bridges of communication and to be able to explain the experiences that we've had in our lives to a particular audience. Now, this is all about building skills and building the awareness to know what stories we want to use in which moments and how we can actually explain them. But there's a second aspect to storytelling that a lot of times we miss, and it's one of my favorite things to work with people on. And this is something I call story weaving. Now, before ever a word comes out of our mouths, we are weaving our stories inside of our own minds. Now, if you think about this analogy of someone who is weaving a basket, they have a lot of material around them and they are choosing the pieces that they want to create this vessel, right? That will then be used to store and pour. Now, we have the same capacity with our stories. When we have an experience, there is a wealth of information around us. And what we do is we take choice pieces of whatever happened in those moments, and we create this vessel, this bowl, that is then the container that we use to tell this story. Now, there's something that I like to call storytelling voodoo, is that the crazy thing is that each of our stories could be told an infinite number of ways, depending on the information that we pull and weave within our own minds. I'll give you an example. Let's say I had a really tough time as a child with speaking, which I did. I was terrified even to call the pizza delivery guy, right? I can tell that story from a pure place of grabbing those moments of how it felt to be that little girl trying to communicate in such a way that I felt super uncomfortable. I would have a bubble in my throat, right? It was all the pain. And so I could weave that story and hold on to that with a focus on the pain and the frustration. But if I zoom out a little bit, I can begin to weave in the stories of how I overcame that, how I learned to trust my voice and trust myself and be much more playful with my communication so that now I can do the things that I love. I can communicate in the ways that I choose to without all of that fear and frustration that I felt when I was young. You see how they're the same base of the story, but one is woven in a way that talks about the growth and expansion, and the other focuses in on just the experience that was there. Now, neither is right or wrong, but this is the opportunity we have when it comes to story weaving. And the essence of story weaving is how we shape our identity, who we believe ourselves to be, and how we believe the world around us works. And a lot of us don't recognize that those two things are quite malleable, that we can shift and play with the way that we see ourselves because we are so multifaceted. We have so many dimensions to us, and we can highlight any one part. We can make one part bigger, one part smaller, based on the desire that we have of how we want to express ourselves. And the same way with the world around us. We can focus in on all the really tough stuff and see what's not working in the world. Or we can look around and find the beauty and the awe and the wonder. All of these things are within our capabilities as story weavers, as the ones who are weaving the stories within our own minds. So, the next time you're starting to explore and think about how you can best tell your stories, maybe give yourself just a moment. Let yourself zoom out a bit and ask yourself, how do I want to weave this particular story?